Hello, everyone. Since it's Halloween season, let's talk about Maryland's most famous ghost story, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. If you want to show off your dark academia knowledge at the Halloween party, this is a good place to start. The Raven is dark, it's about death and despair, and it's also pretty long, so I won't read it aloud. But you should read it on your own, because it's really good. Instead, I'll give a summary of what happens, some history to help you understand what Poe may have been feeling, and why I think the titular raven might not be as bad as it seems at first glance. So let's start with the poem. It begins in the middle of the night. The narrator is lying awake, mourning the loss of someone named Lenore. All of a sudden, they hear a knock at the door, but when they open it, no one's there. The narrator heads back to bed, but hears tapping again, this time from the window lattice. He opens the window only for a raven to swoop in and land on a bust of Athena above his bedroom door. The narrator is a little bemused by the raven at first, since it looks so stern and serious for an animal. As a joke, the narrator asks for its name, and quoth the raven, "Nevermore." The narrator is a little bit taken aback by the bird speaking in English, but ravens can mimic human words, so it's not supernatural. The narrator thinks that maybe it was owned by a strict human that said nevermore a lot, since it basically just means no. The narrator tells themselves that this bird will probably be gone by tomorrow, just like all their hopes before, but again the raven caws nevermore. Now, having answered two of his questions, the narrator becomes convinced that the bird might be a sign from God. He asks if the raven was sent from on high to erase his memories of Lenore, but again the raven caws nevermore. The narrator gets a little bit mad at this, and he begins to suspect that the bird might be sent by the devil, but he continues to ask for answers. He asks if there's anything in the whole world that can cure his grief, but again the raven says nevermore. Desperate, the narrator asks that, when they die, will they be reunited with Lenore in heaven? And again, quoth the raven, nevermore. This is the last straw for the narrator. They command that the raven quit the bust above their bedroom door and leave, but for the last time, quoth the raven, nevermore. The raven remains unmoving above the narrator's door forever. The narrator is now fully convinced that the raven is a demon that was sent to curse him, and they carry his grief for Lenore for the rest of their life. The raven's curse pins their soul to the floor, and it shall be lifted nevermore. So, this is a poem about grief, and coming to terms with the fact that grief never truly goes away. The narrator will always feel grief for Lenore. Time may dull the pain, but you can't wait it out. Poe himself was no stranger to grief and misery. He was an alcoholic, most of his family died while he was still young, and he was forced to marry his 13-year-old cousin Virginia in order to save her from an arranged marriage. Virginia would later catch tuberculosis and begin a long, slow, and painful death. It was at this time that Poe wrote The Raven. And as an aside, most historians agree that while Poe and Virginia loved each other, it's not clear if they were romantically involved. We don't know if they were in love with each other. This ambiguity is carried over in the narrator's relationship with Lenore. She could be a lover, or a sibling, or a friend, or honestly even a pet, and I like the choice to keep it vague, since who exactly Lenore was doesn't matter. The reader can fill in those details on their own. The poem isn't sad because Lenore died, it's sad because of the raven's curse. But here's a question. Is the raven actually doing anything bad in the poem? I don't think it is. While the raven isn't doing anything supernatural, it's perched on the bust of Athena, the goddess of wisdom. It's not really speaking, but it is telling the truth. Lenore's not coming back, and there's no easy way out of grief, something that the narrator is clearly in denial of. He curses the raven and believes himself cursed in turn, but in reality he would feel this way even if the raven never showed up. All the bird is doing is telling the narrator what he already knows. So is the raven supernatural, a hallucination, or just a regular bird? Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. In fact, just like Lenore, I think the poem is helped by the ambiguous nature of the raven, since it makes it feel more ethereal and harder to rationalize away. But that's just my opinion, so please leave a comment on what you think the raven is, and be sure to like the video if you found it helpful. Thanks.